Travis Wayne Goodsell. What did I tell you? Mormons of Utah are demonstrating their racism by working today rather than taking the federal holiday off, choosing instead to take off the 24th of July. Stacker, and I have no idea what that is. They have an article from 3 hours ago. LDS Church turns a page. It's a Metallica lover. A major civil rights moment in Utah. So I was thinking, oh, the church did something today? Oh, did they? Nope. Stacker shows its ignorance about the church by covering old news that I'm going to expose yet again to remind everybody. YouTube Mormon employees, just so that you know, are on a tear this morning. Apparently no bosses have shown up to work. And so I was inspired at around 8 a.m. after my shower and shave to upload the Tree of Life video that I did on the other two channels, Travis Wayne Goodsell and TWG, to my Joseph Smith restoration of Joseph Smith's Church of Christ. Because I realized, oh, yeah, that would be perfect. I'm restoring what has been lost by the great and abominable church. And made bombshells in that. If you guys are not watching my channel, oh my God. But the Mormon employees are watching, and he's pissed that I did the video in response to his hate comment the other day. And so, yeah, he's committing a religious bigoted hate crime. Because he thinks, well, my bosses aren't there to stop it. And so it does seem that he lives here in Utah. Because I don't know how it works for YouTube, but it seems clear that he's in charge of the Utah posts to protect the church. And again, if you have to protect the church ain't true, and you better back off, because you become complicit in the church's crimes, such as the topic of the day, for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A land of contradictions. I love the way he words this. From the outset, the United States was founded by slave owners who spoke passionately and eloquently about liberty, freedom, and justice for all, just like Mormons of Brigham Young. In the beginning, all was limited to men of European ancestry who were wealthy enough to own land, just like Mormons under Brigham Young. The Constitution's protections did not apply to most of the people living in America for most of America's history, at least not in full, and still not to this day. Women, about 50% of the population, were not included in the country's concept of all, likewise millions of slaves. Not for a long time, their offspring, just like Mormons under Brigham Young. Native Americans, the descendants of the original inhabitants of the United States, were commonly excluded from the promise of America, as were many immigrants, ethnic groups, and religious minorities, just like Mormons under Brigham Young. And so let's get to Utah. Each state has a unique history, a unique story to tell about the epic struggles. Mein Kampf? Are you serious? Dude, wrong wording. For civil rights that were waged there, and were all those that continued to be waged. The following of 20 pieces of sliver, the tiny sliver of their collective efforts. Dear God. I fell into this trap, didn't I? Come on. So Utah, LDS Church turns a page. In 1978, because of the threat, I can't defeat the Mormon employee. I can't do anything. I'm helpless. If he refuses to allow my videos, I can't post videos. So I'm going to have to wait until after his shift today. And if I'm being refused the whole time because there's a tag team of Mormons today, I'll have to wait till tomorrow. But you may never see this video. This is the evil of Mormons. And I can't post for you to know about it. In 1978, the Mormon Church reversed its long-held ban on African Americans holding the priesthood. No, they just put them into a different form of slavery, a different form of segregationism. The move had major implications on attitudes and policies across the state. Bruce R. McConkie had to again edit his Mormon doctrine. For the how many dozens of times? For generations, the ban had given theological cover to commit crime for the overwhelmingly white state's long history of racism and segregation. And it hasn't stopped. Nope, because here's the bombshell that I've been revealing to you. Anybody familiar with the Edmunds Tucker Act? Let's go to the website on it. You can obtain the document. You can also obtain the Supreme Court decision document. It's all available online. These need to be included in church history. Why aren't they? Every person who does history of the church needs to have this in their docket. They need to put this into context. And they don't. Only me. The Edmunds Tucker Act of 1887 was an act of Congress that focused on restricting some practices of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Some practices? So it's not just polygamy? Yeah, it wasn't just polygamy. It was actually, polygamy was an after thing when they came in and shut down the church. They found, oh, you guys are practicing polygamy too. Okay, yeah, you can't do that. That's also a crime. That's already covered under bigamy laws of the United States. Edmunds Tucker Act was targeting the practice that began under Brigham Young on the tithing yard. So this is a financial scandal. Tithing, tithing again is scandalous in the news again. They never stop committing crimes. Where white European converts coming to America were getting citizenship. Brigham Young does not have government authority to grant citizenship, but it was extorted through tithing. They pay a full tithing, they get to go to the temple, and they become American citizens. Now that the territory, which first was the Kingdom of Deseret, then Brigham Young tried to defy the United States when they took it over, and it was the territory of Utah. I showed you that coin in the video. Was it the one that got banned on? Or was it last night's? Anyway. And so they tried to claim that it was the state of Deseret, not the territory of Utah. They printed the coins and all that. And then the government kept pushing and pushing as Brigham Young kept booting and booting out the federal officers from Utah. And so with Brigham Young's terrorist threat letter to the government saying, "Stay out of my land," the United States then sent the army. And Brigham Young got dethroned as governor of the territory of Utah. And so under Wilford Woodruff, the Edmunds Tucker Act took effect and shut down the church. It ceased to exist. Wilford Woodruff was no longer the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because the United States shut it down. It was destroyed and gone from the face of the earth. Their priesthood claim, not recognized or accepted by the United States. And so Lorenzo Snow, nope. Not legitimate. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr., nope, not legitimate. Thus all the branch-offs, FLDS, Apostolic Brethren, the Allreds, all of them. I don't have the list in front of me to read off. All of them. Illegitimate. The church ceased to exist under Wilford Woodruff. So why is the church still around today? Why are they... Oh, Heber J. Grant, 1923. They got enough Mormons in government, got themselves a notary public to sign off for Articles of Incorporation, 1923. And if I remember correctly, it's October. Again, those documents are available all over the place. Church started up again. Still practicing the crime of tithing? The crime of tithing. It's not a donation, James Huntsman. He blew it for all of us. And then, they're still practicing polygamy, but they had to make changes after the Reed-Smoot congressional hearings. And so now they had to change the temple to take out the blood oaths that were in there. You solemnly swear before God, angels, and these witnesses that you will murder anyone who dares to molest or make afraid or whistle blows. Dear God, they were corrupt. And the design of the Salt Lake Temple, that was a gallows. That was not for an elevator shaft. He was not inspired by Jesus for an elevator shaft. And the air vents, no, that was not for air conditioning. That was for looking in on the sessions in the creation room, or let's see, the garden room. because Brigham Young designed the women to have the first bikinis. And if he would have been successful in establishing the temple, getting it built, rather than conflict with the United States, and was not molested or made afraid by the United States, he would have eventually changed it to full-on nudity. And so yeah, he had his own balcony, shall we say, as Xena had to be the one to satisfy him in the meantime, as she was giving blessings with washings and anointings, which were all done naked, upon women, as Brigham and his apostles would sit there and watch, just like a peep show. And so then with that, then brothels came into existence. Orrin Porter Rockwell got the first brothel at the point of the mountain. They call it a hotel now. It's a brothel. And then, yeah, the famous one, Regent Street, which was called Commerce Avenue, which was the one that Brigham Young frequented because of all the heartache he was going through with all the divorces, for which the last one was she got him thrown in jail, and he was so pissed over that one that he created and put in his updated Doctrine and Covenants the year before he died, section 132, taking out monogamy from the 1835 edition and taking out section 131, which is right before 132, where Joseph Smith is talking to a monogamous couple, saying, hey, when you get sealed in the temple, you'll, be exalted in the highest degree. Can't have that if we're going to push polygamy. Have to go. And all Mormons miss all of this history because they like the idea that Joseph Smith was the one involved. Brigham is the perv. He's the criminal. He's the deviant. As much as it's necessary to be taught proper sex ed as a boy, as girls, so that we don't get messed up and lead to criminal activity. Let's just put it that way. Because all men desire to perpetuate the species. I would hope women do. For some reason, after we marry them, they no longer desire to perpetuate the species. It was a trap. It belonged to her little tea party. I'm not wearing that. Where is the tea anyway? Jennifer Lopez does a movie about how, as a little wedding planner, of course, as a little girl, she was pretending to be a wedding planner, and it's cute and adorable. And yes, more women, even Mormon women, are raised in the church to look forward to a temple wedding, and so they plan it all by themselves without the man, so that when they get the man, they don't let him in on their plans, and problems ensue in the marriage. So anyway, the Edmunds Tucker Act was repealed. You'll never guess when. Oh, you looked on the page with me? Notice how they don't give the month and day. We can check the footnotes. Yep. November 2nd. So the church had to do it first so that the government can say, okay, fine. Because it's 92 Stat 2483, U.S. Government Printing Office, November 2nd, 1978. And it's got a PDF. I want that PDF. It's essential for church history. Yep, there it is. November 2nd, 1978. Here's our cover page. What is that doing in pics? Alrighty. Okay. So yeah, the church, they're still racist. They're still segregationist. The whole concept of separate but equal, yeah, that's still racist. That's still segregationist. We are all equal, not separate. We are one human family. And so, how do I prove it? All I have to do is say, Genesis group, and then the church hides. They might have a dumb Mormon who comes out and says, no, after 1978, that was made into official ward. The black ward. And you don't see how that's segregationist. You don't see how when I showed up in this 6 years ago, how many? It was 2015 when I came here. Showed up to church. It took a little while for me to become a secretary in the elders quorum among dozens of others that nobody wanted to do because they weren't leadership. And neighbor shows up to church, and yes, he's black. And I go up to him, hey, how you doing? My name's Travis. What's your name? Gives me the name. I'm the secretary in the elders quorum. Can I get your information so that we can get your membership records? And I get interrupted by members of the church who come up and say, oh, hi, welcome to our ward. Have you heard about the Genesis group? So yeah, slander or scander or scampy, whatever this news thing, stacker. They are clueless about the racism, the sexism, the bigotry, the hatred of the poor that runs to the core of Mormon beliefs here in Utah. They are the enemy. They hate. A white supremacist hate. They do not care for their Mormons even. It's disgusting. And so now the record is set straight. And you may never find out. So in closing, how are Mormons going to be good if the leaders of their church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Incorporated, 1923, refuse to set the good example and be good themselves? Restitution is required when you take away someone's life, liberty, and property. The church has done this. That's what racism, sexism, bigotry, and hatred of the poor does to people. It's a hate crime for a reason. The church must restore the damage. 10 million is insufficient. It was a slap in the face that the NAACP allowed to have happen, as they were humiliated. Not just the church, but the NAACP was humiliated for falling for this 10 million public display. When Bezos's ex, who got half of the billions, gave billions to blacks the day after the church's little show display. Oh, see, we're not racist. We have racist friends. We have we have blacks as friends. They have to completely alter their thinking processes. As Slacker made it very clear, the church is in contradiction, just like the colonists. So, alrighty. And so what do? You march on the church. That's all you can do. But in Utah, it's illegal. They will lock you up as terrorists. They will lock you up as mentally ill. Never have you go to trial to defend yourself, to expose the church.